Energy tech doesn't move forward alone, and neither should you. Energy Tech Cypher brings together the founders, investors, operators, and corporates shaping what's next. From innovation trends to data-driven insights, this is where the ecosystem connects, collaborates, and moves. Find your place in the ecosystem at energytechcypher.com. That's Cypher as in CYPHER, where we bring the community together online and in person. Welcome back to Energy Tech Startups. I am in the studio here with Jason and a very special guest, Mo Saadat, who is the CEO of Strata Hub. Welcome. Welcome.
No, thank you. Thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be here, and looking forward to the discussion and telling you all about Strata Hub and what I've been up to.
Yeah. So, I know you have a really interesting background, lots of experience from the oil and gas industry. But talk to us first about Strata Hub. What is it? What are you trying to achieve with the company?
Absolutely. So, imagine the two of you. You have a team, and you're basically being tasked to deploy a really cool AI solution, except that it's in North Dakota and it's negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You've been working at this, the team's excited, and when you're getting ready to deploy it, you find out that the solution fails. Mm-hmm. The solution fails for really three reasons: data. The data is not in the right format. You have data gaps. It's stuck in these data in the historians, in the PLCs. And the third is you've got, essentially it's not in the right format. So basically all this cool AI model that you've developed basically is rendered useless. So that's the problem that I want to basically do away with. And that's where Strata Hub, essentially the genesis of Strata Hub came. So it's the vendor agnostic industrial data movement platform that is essentially liberating your operational data that's trapped in historians and legacy historians in different OT systems, and essentially handing it to the people who are going to make decisions. And this is not happening in months. It happens in hours to days. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the problem that we want to go after, and we are going after. And to do this, at 1/10 the cost, and without needing an army of consultants to help you get there.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you've been working at this solution for about a year, I would say. How did you stumble on this that, now I'm going to become an entrepreneur and really dive into this and solve this? What made you so aware of the problem?
Right. So really the problem that I just described, that I lived it was not just a North Dakota problem. I saw this problem surface in North America and South America, where I worked, in the Middle East. So it's a very systemic problem, and especially now that there's a massive focus around the infrastructure investment that's going on towards AI, and then also about oil and gas companies. They're going to spend about $5 to $7 billion of investment into AI, but only 40% of these are really showing outcomes. So we've got to solve the problem of data logistics, mm-hmm. and I think that's something that I faced quite a bit as I was deploying a lot of or scaling a lot of digital solutions in my previous life. So coming back to so it was basically a problem that I lived it. Mm-hmm. It was not a market opportunity. It was something that I felt I was outraged about it and wanted to do something about it. And then
talk to us about that. Talk to us about your early career. Yeah. Where did you work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's almost 2 decades of working in the oil. In fact, I grew up in the oil and gas space. My father was in the oil and gas space. So energy industry is in my blood, and I also got an opportunity to work in different environments in North America, South America, in Middle East, and really I have a tremendous amount of respect for the men and women at the front lines who are making this energy security, affordability happen for us. So again, feel a lot of pride in being a product of this energy industry. So now having in what the key area that I worked in was around scaling of these digital solutions. And what I mean by that is it's not just an ERP solution, but it's really about putting data solutions or AI solutions in the hands of people who are making decisions. And they're the folks who are the front lines. That's where digital transformations live and die. If you can get the folks at the front line start believing in the solution, they don't want another fancy shiny tool. They want to just be able to go home to every day safe to their families. So how can we give them these solutions that can help them do just that? So just from a background standpoint, grew up in the industry, and now the going after the big problem around how do you solve the data logistics problem that's holding back and that will hold back a lot of the AI investments that these companies are going to make in the next that's happening right now in the next few years.
What's the root cause of the data logistics problem? I can't imagine it's just because someone in IT is lazy.
No, really, I think I really like that question. So what's happening is that, so look, I mean, if I think about the oil and gas industry, it's very data rich. We've got, in fact, I was just talking to one of the leaders in a midstream operator, and they have about what they call it about 10 million tags that they're sampling through, and then it's a very data rich environment. The challenge is that a lot of this data is sitting in these systems, these legacy systems, and there are lots of these, right? You've got, and they've been around for a long time. You've got the data historians, then you've got all these different machines, PLCs, that are manufactured by different companies. They work on different protocols, and being able to extract that information and bring it in a format that people can then make decisions. That's been the sort of the gap, right? So that's really the challenge that's been holding us back. A lot of the operators have been working on getting the data within the enterprise working. So, I mean, that's where you see a lot of investments in SAP, Oracle, IBM, where you're putting these massive systems in place. But what about all this OT data, operational data that's sitting in there that's not part of your decision making about where you're going to deploy capital? If you have a set amount of maintenance capex, which wells are going to get that maintenance capex and which won't, right?
What is OT data? I don't think I'm familiar.
Yeah, so OT data, essentially it's all the data that's coming out of these sensors that are sitting at the well sites, at the gas plants, on compressors.
What does OT stand for, I guess?
Operational technology.
Okay.
Yeah, so
got it. So it's really all these little sources that like you said, literally millions of tags. That's each little sensor is its own source, essentially.
Absolutely.
Got it. And I imagine historically, if you think about some of this equipment might have been out there for 20 to 40 years, there was a time where the equipment manufacturers didn't want to make the data easily accessible outside of their platform because there's a power in kind of being vertically integrated. And that was a defensive mechanism, right?
Yeah.
But today we still have to manage across all of them. So it's a very interesting challenge to have.
Yeah. And so what the other thing is that you've had so many acquisitions that have happened based now. Just in the last 3 to 4 years, we have about 300 to 400 billion dollar acquisitions that have happened. What that has meant is you've got all these assets that are being, lumped together, but all these assets have different systems and different operational technology environments that they have.
And this is at the producer level, is what we're talking like. So when people are aggregating up and trading wells.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the operational complexity has gone up. So when I started in the field, right, and it was, okay, look after the well. And that's what a lot of the operational leaders were doing. They were looking at, okay, I want to make sure that I'm producing this well, there's no disruption, and get this thing to the sales point. Well, today, it's not just that. You have to focus on the processing plant. You have to focus on your midstream. You've got to focus on your water infrastructure that's there. So all of these aspects, and well, the other thing in the Permian, for example, you've got your pipeline capacity constraints. So you're working toward, you have an objective. You want to get oil as cheaply as you can to the sales line, but there's so many constraints. And how do you manage those constraints? That's where this aggregation of OT operational data comes together, so that it can inform you, where do I really need to, my plan says to deploy capital here, but we are already gas constrained there. So maybe we need to think about some other place. And the whole idea that you're making these decisions on an annual basis, that's out the window. So it has to be very dynamic.
Yeah. It's what's happening there, and then having the data at your fingertips so that you can kind of divert your supply if you need to, because the pressure is rising and stuff. It's like all
Absolutely.
operationally driven decisions. So I mean in your background, you've been like, gone into a lot of these customers who are not now your customers. You were consulting them, maybe helping implement ERP systems, etc. And so you've seen kind of the resistance that people have towards new technology. What are you finding now as you're talking to customers and trying to sell them your solution?
Yeah. So I always start with, what is a problem that we're solving? It's not about the technology. Really, it starts off with who's making the decision and who's really impacted. And so that's been something that's been consistent throughout my journey, is really understanding who's making the decision, and then really segmenting that to say, okay, how does what we do from a technology standpoint either accelerate that decision or improve the quality of the decision? Right? I think at a fundamental level, that's what we're doing, right? So to your point around, what's the narrative, right, for our customers? It hasn't changed much for me. What's really, it's about emphasizing that, look, your operational complexity is growing. You cannot manage the way you have been. That's number one. So you've got to depend a lot on these digital solutions to give you a response, so that you're not just making decisions based on your gut. That's one. Second, there's a real exodus of talent that has happened in the industry in the last several years. When I started in the field, it was very common to find someone with 10 to 15 years of experience. Now you would be hard pressed to find someone who has more than 2 years of experience. So you've got this lot of exodus of talent. So how do we make sure that that institutional knowledge is captured, it's brought in? That's through the data that's there, and bring that in, those insights that are developed. So that's the second. So I think that the key thing there is, look, first, you cannot operate the way you have been. Secondly, people who were traditionally resistant, they're saying, look, we're swamped. I don't need another shiny tool. Help me solve what I have right now, and I'll be and plus I don't have this experienced hand to call if I run into problems. So I need to make those decisions, but it has to be data driven. So it's sort of this convergence of the industry, the complexity that has grown, the industry, the exodus of talent. That's second, and third is obviously now everyone's saying, oh, we need to. Where are we on this AI journey, right? And you cannot be on this AI journey without solving this data logistics problem. So that's kind of the focus as I'm talking to customers right now.
I imagine too, in the last decade, I feel like, we were talking about digital transformation 10 years ago, which seems to feel like it's at the high level, but there's also, even today, a ton of discussion around digital twins, right? Like what's the digital twin of your oil well or your pumping system? And I imagine that digital twin won't work if you don't have a way to logistically pull all the data together. Has that been a historical challenge for why digital twins aren't pervasive?
So I want to pick up on two things that you said, which really resonated with me. One was the word digital transformation. In certain it's with certain clients, so I can't even use the word digital transformation.
Oh no.
Because they've been burned so bad, right?
Exactly.
Because the promise of digital transformation has been, look, I mean, it's going to turn around your fortunes, the margins are going to go, the downtime is going to go down by 50%, only if you take this and put this solution and deploy that. That was one. Second, hey, we've got this really cool digital twin technology. If you apply this, you can do so many different scenarios and simulations, and that'll give you the outcome that you're looking for. Just give us the data, we'll do it. Well, the operators have essentially, they're all about, look, show me the value, show me the outcomes, and then we're going to talk about how do we go from there. And the second thing is around digital twins is success is not just simply being able to simulate a small subset of the environment. It's about how are you able to scale across not just one asset, but multiple basins. Now you have even different types of asset bases as well. So how do you bring, how are you able to bring all of that and simulate those different asset types? Well, that's again goes back to the root cause, which is how is your data, industrial data coming in? How is that being transformed, and how is that being ingested and used by these digital twins to give you that the outcome you're looking for?
So part of it is verifying ahead. Like we have historicals that we can show and prove that these things will work. And I think one of the things that's, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't been in the oil field that long, but all oil wells are not the same. Even in the same field, you're going to have variations based on how it was drilled and fracked. Just the local rock might be more gassy than others. And so it actually really matters that the digital twin is custom per system, right? Because it's not as replicated as I think we like to believe.
So I think there are two aspects to what you said. One is, look, no matter how instrumented a field is, and no matter how much technology you've deployed there, you cannot take away the human experience, the insight that is there. And this is where I have tremendous amount of respect for the people that are working in these basins, because each basin is a bit nuanced. Like, from Eagle Ford you can go to North Dakota for the Bakken, versus you go to Permian. You've got to know, and Gulf of America, you've got to know that formation really well, because and what I find really something that I respect a lot is a lot of people have sovereignty over these areas because they know the area. So when they get this, the challenge is the scale. We're talking about thousands of these wells, right? So how do you bring these thousands of these wells, and then you juxtapose a lot of the insight that these our frontline folks have to get you the answer, right? So to your point, there is, you'll hear it from a lot of people, my well is special, right? You'll hear this a lot, and I've lived through it where because it's that inherent understanding that, look, this is different. My field is unique in that way. Now there are certain elements where it is unique, but mostly there is. Let's just make sure that there are certain common things that we can get out, like things like flow rates, the tubing, the pressure, the casing pressure, the tank levels. Let's get all of that data together so that you at least have a view or cross-sectional view across your asset base, and then you overlay your insights on top of that. So that's kind of how I view it. There's complexity, inherent complexity. There's nuance, but you cannot do this without having this. I call it a aggregate view of your asset.
Because there's like that domain expertise that you're saying that comes in, that's important to read the data and then make decisions on the site. Plus, looking at an aggregate of data and gives you that master intelligence that a human, cannot have in the same way, because, as a drill operator of this particular drill, you maybe have the most experience for this drill. But back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, digital transformation has been a buzzword for over a decade. And there was a lot of hype, 10 years ago saying, this is going to change our industry. It's going to make it so much more efficient. And, everyone was trying to do what you're describing that you're doing today. And a lot of companies have tried.
Yeah.
A lot of operators have tried themselves that, we're going to create this like predictive analytics, like master intelligence platform. What have you seen with your experience? Like how far have these often suppliers, or OEMs of these equipment, they wanted to be the leaders in the forefront of analyzing this data and giving you intelligence. Why have they not been able to solve the problem that you're solving today? And like, what makes it different for you today and what makes it, unique amongst everyone else who's wants to do the same thing? Because it's a problem that we're aware of for many years now.
So it goes back to sort of two principles that I've sort of crystallized my experience on. And this is something that I've also reflected in the approach that Strata Hub is taking. One, you've got to again make sure that the people who are making the decisions, whether it's the frontline folks, whether it's your asset leaders, whether it's your CFO, you're aware of the problem that they're solving. And then the second one is, how do you scale that solution that you can deploy, which is then talks about what is the data architecture that will underlie this solution, and what are the different types of security guardrails that you've already incorporated early on, and it's not an afterthought. And I mean, there have been countless times where I've worked on really cool innovation projects that have shown outcomes. So there was one where, it was a really cool solution that could do the forecasting of production in a very complex field. They showed that this worked really well here, but then they weren't able to scale because, again, it goes back to how the data was coming from the other places, how it was getting ingested, how it was being transformed. And it became almost like another 7 to 8 month project, right? And then leadership loses patience. They're like, okay, you've shown results here, but I don't want to pay for another data management project, right? Where are the outcomes? So coming back to your point about the OEMs, in many cases they were solving a very, very narrow cross-sectional view of the problem. So I'll take the OFES companies. They're very focused on subsurface. Let's crack that subsurface. But now there's a huge portion of your economics that are eaten away by how the water management is working, right? So I'm even seeing that starting to percolate within the oil field services companies as well, because now they're taking a very broader view of how they want to go after how they want to help their clients as well, which is where we want to help accelerate some of their deployments as well. Is with, okay, you don't want to be spending a lot of time doing the data plumbing, data transformations, and then really trying to focus on getting it into your whatever technology you've got, because then the leadership at these energy companies, they're going to lose patience. So that's where we can help accelerate that. So don't try to sell a tool. Crack the problem. Take a broader aperture to that problem, because that's how where the complexity is lying today. It's not just a subsurface or a surface or something that's related to you, like the oil, the chemical management, the water management that comes along with it. Now electricity, energy consumption. You've got to take into account the energy consumption that will be used. In fact, that's one of the big problems. I was recently in a conversation with a prospective client of ours, and they talked about, look, we don't have a way to forecast our energy consumption because the data that it's sitting in some utility. Now we need to make sure we bring that in. So you see, I think coming back now to your question around OEMs. So take a broader view, don't sell technology, and then really see, are there ways that you can partner up with, again, plug for Strata Hub, like players like ours who can help you accelerate that journey.
Because it's a pretty broad problem that you're solving, right? And so when you're talking, you have a few pilots that are ongoing now. When you go talk to your customers, how are you leading that conversation? And really, my understanding is helping them identify a use case, right? Like, how are you getting there? Talk to us about that.
Thanks for listening. If you're fundraising now or know someone who is, I want to tell you about Saffron, our investor relationship management product for energy tech founders. Think of it as a CRM built for energy fundraising. Use our recommendation engine to find the right investors faster and then track every conversation and stay connected through your raise. There's a free tier, so you can start today at no cost. That's CEPHYRON.com. Now, thanks, and back to the show.
Yeah. So the two key, I've learned this term now, is ICP, where your
Initial customer profile.
Initial customer profile, or your intended customer
Persona.
Persona.
Yeah.
Other couple.
So I hear a lot of that. So there are two that I'm focused very much on right now. One is your business unit leader / asset or a plan manager. And the second one is your CFO. And again, I'm focused a lot on these smaller companies. And when I say smaller, they're sub $20 billion companies, because because they're looking at. Let me talk about the first persona, which is your asset manager. They are looking at, okay, I've got very limited amount of maintenance capex. Where do I deploy that gives me the biggest rate of return, right? So usually going in, my hypothesis is, look, you're making decisions on where do you want to deploy your maintenance capex. What's keeping you from making the decision faster, quicker, better today, right? So that's one. And then basically from there, the conversation goes into, but my real problem is, like, my top three problems are, like, I don't have a way of figuring out what my energy consumption is. These saltwater disposals that I have, I've got a lot of spills that I'm dealing with, and I need to understand how that's going, because, regulatory is going to come at me. And then the third one is, I always feel like I'm in a reactive mode. How do I get more? So that's then leads to follow-up questions. Okay, then let's go after and solve one or two things that will show you outcomes and get you the validation that, look, this problem can be resolved in a very in a quick. It's not I'm not here to sell you another digital transformation of several months. We're gonna get you the answer in days rather than months, right?
Yeah. So under the hood, how are you actually doing this? Is this new technology that we're putting to work, or just your expertise?
No, so Strata Hub is a completely vendor agnostic data movement platform that's basically based on a lot of open source tools. What we're doing right now is, and the piece that I'm really proud of is that this is a platform that can be used by your business unit leaders. It's not some. Again, IT is more than welcome to use it. Data engineers are more than welcome to use it. But I would love for our business unit leaders saying, look, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to understand where I'm going to be spending my CapEx. I need data from these set of wells, and I need data from, and this is the data lineage. And just by prompting, they're able to spool up these connections in the background, and they're able to then surface them in these whatever tool that they're using, right? Again, like I said, I don't care what tool you use. At the end of the day, I want you to be making decisions quicker, right? That's really what I'm looking after. So we're able to spool up a lot of these connectors quickly. The second thing is that we're also looking at how do we transform the data. So a lot of times there's data missing, so you need to interpolate. Their scan rates are different. How do we make sure we smooth that for you? And then, depending on what format you need the data. So can we do that for you? So that's the second component. And then third is we can help you monitor, and this is something that can be done by IT, who just can monitor if there's any issue that happens that they can look at, manage by exception. So
you said a keyword here. So you said prompting. So I assume that means there's a little bit of an agentic magic that's happening. Is there an MCP? I'm curious about, like, what's driving things underneath. And it sounds like you also don't want to tell the customer too much, because maybe it's because agentic stuff starts to walk the line of maybe it's too early stage technology, right?
Yeah. So there's definitely the agentic. So we have certainly moved in that direction of agentic, because, like I said, the whole value proposition is that, look, you don't need an army of people on shore, overseas who are looking at your data continuously. This is something that now a lot of agents can do for you. So if you're looking at extracting of data, if you're looking at transforming the data, if you're looking at just orchestrating it across, those are things that the agents can do for you, right? With MCP, again, I'm always MCP it's always evolving. The piece that I'm very cognizant about is the data trust. To me, it's very important, especially in our energy space that I've lived in for the last 24 years, is that how do you inspire trust in the data? MCP is a great, but if you're trying to explore where is this data coming from, which tool is it being used, that's where sometimes it gets a little hazy. So where we're doing is we want to make this all transparent. So we know exactly which APIs we're using, how we're connecting to those, and how those being built as well. So if anyone wants to look under the hood and do an data audit trail, it's there.
Do you find customers, you're obviously very focused on the value and the benefit, but when you start to describe kind of agentic workflows, are they excited? Are they tentative? Tell us about the mood in the energy industry. That's what I'm curious about.
So I'm initially hesitant in talking about the whole agentic, sort of the agentic magic, right?
Yep.
It's important to understand where the operator is in their journey. I'll tell you an example, and I can never forget this. We were having this conference call with this operator working in Delaware Basin, and I was on the call, and the CEO had said, look, we're going to be autonomous operations by 2020 or 2022. They'd put in some timelines, right? So there I was, consultant, saying, hey, we're going to help you get there quicker, faster. And there was a bit of a pause, and then I hear like, yeah, this is all good, but I'm not even able to extract data out of my SCADA. So, I like the idea, but if I can't even get my data out of SCADA, I don't know what we can do for you in the short term. So it's really understanding kind of where the client is on their journey. And so that's why sometimes what I focus more on is how are they going to use this, and what does that mean for their day-to-day business, right? Now, if they want to know if we have agentics, I always have my chief product officer sitting next to me. It's like, all right, go all agentic on them, right?
but I guess that's the point here is someone at leadership might have a vision for where we want to go, but the reality is we have a very technical operational leadership that really understands what's actually happening. They're not just someone turning screws. They are having to make these decisions, and that's always it's convenient because you have a customer who actually tells you what's going on, and where you can actually drive to value pretty quickly.
I can never forget this one experience. So I was sitting in Oklahoma, and I brought this player that's now actually grown to almost $1 billion unicorn now, just 7 years ago actually. So these guys, their claim to fame was, look, we can help you predict failures of your electric submersible pumps 7 to 10 days before that happens, and we can also tell you the mode of failure that'll happen, right? So we did a pilot for them, and showed up like, yeah, look, we could all these wells there. These wells are going to will fail, or these ESPs are going to fail. So you need to make sure that the rig is there to pull these out. And we were sitting in the room, and we had their ESP engineer, and we had obviously their asset leader in there. The asset leader was like, okay, excited. This ESP leader engineer was quiet. And then I happened to kind of poke the bear and ask him, so what do you think? He said, you're telling me that this data model that you have will tell me which wells I need to pull, right? And that was a sort of a telling moment, look, you've got to, these types of solutions cannot be developed in isolation. You've got to have your domain experts. They have to be very much part of this solution as you're building it up. So that's why it's important to make sure that as you're going in this journey, that you're getting these technical folks along with you as you're going to, because leadership will obviously cares for the outcomes. But in the energy space, what I've learned is that you've got to be able to convince these guys who are living it on a day-to-day basis.
And they're the ones who are going to be using the technology, right? So they have to take ownership. So even if leadership says use it, they're not going to use it unless they feel ownership and they feel like they're empowered by this in some way.
There goes your digital transformation out the window, right?
Yeah. But the digital transformation is all about that. It's people transformation. It's like empowering people to use these tools and saying like, I know the data is saying this, but I know from my experience which well is the one that's going to fail, or if I should believe this data right now or not, and obviously with experience, when they start using it, they'll know how to do it. But I mean, really fascinating to hear your stories, because I mean, that's really the journey of an entrepreneur, right? Or is going out and learning, because you could go there and say, I have this fabulous tool that can do all these things for you. But if your customer is like, yeah, but who's going to get the data? Then you're solving the wrong problem in many cases, right? You have to start one step ahead. So talk to us about that journey since you first, decided you were going to start this company, bring this to customers. Everyone has to pivot based on like what they then learn when customers actually start using their tools. What have you learned, and how did you learn the whole process of, really taking in that feedback from customers and then putting it into your product?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One part obviously is talking about the value prop and how are you going to help them get there. The other component that I find equally important is the ask that I often get is, how much time will my people have to devote to help you get your solution embedded here, right? Because my people are busy. They have well, there's no such thing as 9 to 5, but they have their shifts. So how are you going to make it easy for them? So the whole deployment approach is very critical. The second thing that I'm learning is that there is a lot of, I don't want to say it's not bad behavior. It's just there's so much acquisitions that have happened that there's whole proliferation of data, different behaviors that have been incorporated, and so there are different people's approaches are there. So how do you bring all of that together so that people don't feel like you're going to stop using the way they have been working, but really understanding how they make the decisions, right? So really following that workflow and saying, look, how do we incorporate what you're doing and enhance it through this digital solution that we have, or this data movement platform that we have. So it's really about understanding the workflow end to end and seeing how that can come in and accelerate their decision making from there, rather than saying, oh no, this is going to completely revamp how you make decisions. Well, I want you to start doing that. That's a big lift for the team. And the second is, when you're deploying these, how do we make sure that we can optimize the time that the workforce is spending on helping you create that bespoke solution or response for them? Right?
Can you, if you think about back to the life of the business, can you think back to a decision you made that really like set the stage or helped you take off? Yeah. So I mean, I keep talking about this experience in North Dakota, right? That I always. I had this experience in North Dakota too, and I was doing hardware, so I get it. It like leaves a mark.
Yeah. Well, the other thing was that my team, one of them decided to have sushi in Minot, Texas.
Oh, because that's where the best sushi is.
Yeah, exactly. So and poor guy had a real bad. He wasn't able to come out with me to the field. So that stayed with me for a while, by the way. But yeah, it's really that experience that, when you finally get people on your side, that they're saying, look, this is going to really improve the quality of your life. That means you when in sub-freezing temperatures, you don't have to go to the well site. You can just operate from here, and then that means that you can go to your families at 4. The supervisor saying, "I'm not paying overtime for this," and then seeing that completely come down because we didn't think about how this thing is going to scale across from a data standpoint. That was sort of the moment where there was that outrage that I felt because you especially because a lot of people are not fully bought in, but when they are, they're looking for an outcome. They're looking for the results. So that was that it was. I still remember 2024 February, where I was like, okay, I've done a lot of time working with the frontline folks. Where now I know, okay, how do you message digital transformation? But what I was not able to answer for them is how do I can get you the data faster at a cheaper price and without making it into another 8 month. Oh, just wait for another 8 months of transformation before we can get you the answer. Right. That was it.
So being able to solve things quickly really
Correct.
catalyzes it. And I think for people who don't know, I think even Minot, it's still like 90 minutes from the back end usually for a lot of folks. So it's a trip when people have to go out.
It is.
Yeah.
The interesting thing was one of the companies I really look up to from a digital transformation standpoint is Aker BP. Aker did a phenomenal job in really making digital become part of the DNA of the company. But what I tell people is that they had the resources and they had companies like Cognite that worked for them for multi years before they can get to the answer
They
that they were
created
looking
Cognite.
for.
It's like none of I know a thing or two about this,
they
right?
They created Cognite.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did. I mean, they had a CEO who was just from day one. He called it like the data liberation movement or whatever. That's the T-shirt he used to go around wearing. I used to work at a sister company of Aker BP, Aker Solutions, and it's true. I mean, they totally. But then they took their IT teams, they took their digital teams, and made their own company. Cognite, to help them operate and really start. And this is in the North Sea. So that they can have remote operations, so that people don't have to go to these remote areas.
Right.
And, very early on, starting to see how they can just run everything remotely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so just picking up on that, right? It was a multi-year journey for them. But imagine our operators here that are not Aker BP. They don't have that kind of resources. How can they do this at 1/10 the cost?
Yeah.
And without it being a multi-year journey, right?
Right.
So that's really the companies that I really want to help get accelerated on that digital transformation path.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is you were like, no one's solving this problem.
Yeah.
I need to just leave my job and just do this for them. But so what has been the challenge of making that leap? Having worked in corporate, having those. I wouldn't say cushy because your jobs were never cushy. I know, you worked long hours, it worked really hard, but you have that comfort of the whole organization kind of supporting you and having those scaffoldings, right? If things go wrong. But now you're on your own. So tell us, how was that transition? The
honeymoon period didn't last that long. I can tell you that. I can tell you it was very exciting initially.
Freedom
in the sense of, look, now I don't have to take meetings that are not going to be accretive to the cause. I don't have to stand in front of Excel sheets and explain to how do we gen up business or more business. I always said, look, you got to be out there working that. But I think there are a lot of solid takeaways from my experience working in the corporate was, especially as a consultant, was being able to ask the right questions, being able to frame the problem better. But I think what the last, I would say, year or so has taught me is the power of storytelling. I mean, we as consultants are always talking about narratives and how do we tell the narrative. But I think storytelling is a very critical part of it. The other thing is what I've learning is the whole idea about the marketing. There's like in corporate, we had a marketing who do all these blogs, etc. Here, you are you're basically the chief marketing officer for your company as well. So you got to wear that hat. So you have to be comfortable, being out there talking, and kind of like doing
Coming on podcasts.
what I'm doing
Yeah.
right now, which frankly doesn't come as naturally for a lot of people, especially in we've grown up in the corporate America, because there are always some segment of folks who can help you get there. But this is now all on you. So storytelling, becoming, developing this whole marketing muscle. I think that's becoming that's a great learning for me. And I think the other thing is, how do you, just on a more tactical level, like, if I had a slide to make, I would send it off to India, and the next day it'll be done, right? If I had some, meetings to arrange, I'd always have, I had a good support system who could help me get there. But now I've had to sort of develop my own virtual agents to do that for me, right? So I call Shelly, who's my AI chief of staff. So I had to build that one. I mean, it was a good experience building that one, but I'm so more and more trying to figure out how do I amplify myself through the use of AI so that I can do what I do best as well, right?
Yeah, empowering your superpower. I'm looking at the clock, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to start wrapping up. But paint me a picture of where you're going to be in 5 to 10 years.
So I would love for Strata Hub to become what Salesforce has done for the sales industry, right? I want the Strata Hub to become the industrial data fabric for all of the energy players. So not just oil and gas. I'm getting a lot of, touchwood, a lot of solid pull from even geothermal, because they are they're actually now scaling up their sort of impact now. So that's something that I would love for Strata Hub to become, that industrial data fabric for all of the energy players.
Good. Fantastic. What's one thing that our audience here could do to support you in your goals?
So I'd love to have more conversations with the business unit leaders, the asset managers, the CFOs of a lot of these companies that are in the business of making decisions and is getting complex decisions in the oil and gas, midstream, power and data centers space. Love, again, always looking for those conversations. So that would be wonderful to have more of those.
Fantastic. And how do people reach out to you to have these conversations?
Sure. So again, you can reach out to me on mo.saadat@stratahub.com. We have a website.
How do we spell Saadat? Because I would get it wrong.
Good point. It's SAADAT. But stratahub.com. That's the easiest way. Just drop me a note. I'm the guy who's reading those emails now. So,
now you don't have you don't have an admin.
I don't have an admin. So now I'm the one, and those are the types of emails that, like, in the morning when I get up, I'm like, okay, what did I get? Who reached out to me? So always I will read and I will respond.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we wish you all the best on your journey, and we look forward to following where Strata Hub goes. And 5 years from now, where are you today?
Awesome. Nada, Jason, thank you. This has been wonderful. I love the conversation, and I love what the Energy Tech is doing, and Energy Tech Cypher is doing. And so we're really rooting for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.